FM News Talk 97.1.
On-demand audio.
One of my favorite things to do every Christmas is to watch. Is it TV? It's not TNT, it's TBS now. The Christmas Story.
Yeah, that's right. Which
plays every Christmas 24 hours. And I make my family keep it on the whole 24 hours, because unless you watch every showing of it, it's not technically Christmas. And one of the star of that was the little kid Ralphie, who, his name's Peter Billingsley, and he grew up to be a director, and I've heard through the grapevine from many a trusted source that he's, kind of one of us, however you want to take that. And then when I was reading in the news that he and his best friend Vince Vaughn and my good friend Glenn Beck were doing this project, which I'm really excited about. It's the Pursuit of Truth that's going to be airing on the Blaze TV. I was really excited because, here you're going to have these three people working on a project that's going to be very cool. Joining me on the phone right now to talk about this and more is Glenn Beck. Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'm so excited that you guys are doing this. I have to ask you, are you and Vince Vaughn going to be the new Damon and Affleck?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
How did this come about?
One of them has the charm and the good looks, and the other one does not. And I'll let you decide which one is which.
That's very cool. How did this all come about? Because I've read, in a couple of places that Vince Vaughn, he likes Mark Stein, or, he's read this book and that book. And so you kind of think, well, he's a closeted one of us. And I'm really curious as to how this came together.
I will tell you that if you go back and watch some of his movies, in some of his movies he's wearing, the Don't Tread on Me T-shirt. In just one scene, you'll see it. In one of his movies, you'll see him reading Thomas Paine's Common Sense. And he's been putting these messages into his movies, I think, for quite some time to say, hey, some of us in here in Hollywood are trying to get some things done right.
Right.
Nobody in Hollywood, I guess, has even seen it, but he's been sending that signal for a while, I think. But he called me up, I don't know, probably about 4 years ago, and I've never talked about it because I'm not gonna out him. And he called me up when I was on Fox, and he said, I'm watching you, and he said, I'm learning so much, and he said, talk to me about the Fed a little bit. So we talked for a while, and he's really well read, really has a handle on what's going on, and is a strong libertarian, and probably, we have different views on things. He's more of a Ron Paul guy, where I'm more of a Rand Paul guy. So he's kind of cut from that cloth, and he called me up, and we've been going back and forth, off air, and then I don't know, about maybe a year and a half ago, he invited me out to go to Joel Osteen's big night at the ballpark in Chicago, and I expected him, to meet me for dinner afterwards, not to literally go with me, and he walked right in with me, and it was quite shocking, and I was surprised that nobody picked up that the two of us were together and said, "What the hell are they doing together?" But we've been talking about the troubles the country is in and how to solve it, and try to figure out ways that we could work together, and we thought this was a really good way, because he cares about getting the truth out and not having conspiracy theorists, and then also not having the corporate master overlords tell the truth, but look for real journalists that will tell a hard truth.
And that's exactly what the show, this Pursuit of Truth, is about. This is, for those who don't know, which I think most everyone does at this point, it's you're pitting 20 documentary filmmakers against each other, and they're going to compete for financing and distribution for their film. And Peter Billingsley, who is Ralphie, and I know I've seen photos of him as a grown-up man, and I still am like, Ralphie.
He looks just like Ray. He looks the same exact way. And he's got that same kind of sweet disposition to him. But he's also he was one of the producers on Iron Man. He's not a nobody himself. He's really a Hollywood titan himself.
And what I love about this is that this pairing, with all of you working together, it shows that you don't, when you're working in arts and entertainment, you don't have to say, well, I'm a conservative, so that means I'm going to do all conservative things all the time. Well, not necessarily. You can still just do really good art and be a conservative, which seems to me the best way to sell the message of what we believe.
We have to start widening the net a little bit and moving in a different way and in different circles and with people that you wouldn't expect. I just had a meeting. I had about a 45-minute meeting. I flew out to Los Angeles to meet with one of the biggest names in Hollywood that, people would be shocked if they knew that I had met with him. And we had, I think, about a 45-minute meeting, and it was at the end of the day. And he said, we started talking, and I looked down at my watch, and he's like, "Do you mind? You want to have dinner?" And we ended up talking, I think, until 1 a.m. I think we're going to be doing some things together as well, because while he doesn't agree with me on politics, he does agree with me that the world's about to change, and you don't want the government running everything.
Right.
And you might as well design it because the whole thing is about to change. And so he's one of these guys who's really into creative destruction. Where you don't try to put somebody out of business, you just build a better mousetrap, and everybody does go out of business, and you're all of a sudden the king of the mousetraps.
Right, right. On your program, you've featured a number of guests recently. One of the latest was Penn Jillette, who I've only talked to through video in responses back and forth to each other over topics. And, these are people that, you don't necessarily agree with these people on every single issue. But that's not the point, though. The point of having those folks on, whether, it's intended or not, is it showcases a lot of the common ground that you have, and it's how important it is to build on that. Was that intentional?
Yeah, here's the thing, and I've learned this from watching my own network. I have hired people, like you, that I don't necessarily agree with. Well, you and I probably agree on most things, but I don't necessarily agree with everybody that I've hired. But we've hired people that are, generally speaking, strong constitutionalists. And one of the guys was on the air, and he was talking about I don't remember what it was. I think it might have been gay marriage. He was talking about it, and I found myself stopping and listening to him. Now, he was on the other side of gay marriage, far as thinking there's no problems at all. I think that's a problem for marriage. I think it weakens marriage itself, because I think that's what the intent is on the left,
right?
To take down the churches and everything else.
Exactly.
But I'm listening to him, and I'm like, okay, I agree with that. But the reason why I agreed with him was because he was speaking from a place of strong constitutionalism. And that's where we agree. I won't listen to anybody at GLAAD, because what GLAAD's telling me is an agenda, and I don't trust them. But I do trust people like Penn Jillette, who he doesn't care I don't care what somebody does in their bedroom. He doesn't care what somebody does in their bedroom. And as long as he will stand with me and say the church must be protected, the right to disagree, and the right to your own conscience, and say, I believe homosexuality is fine. I believe homosexuality is, against God's law. Whatever it is you believe, you have a right to say that without fear of repercussions. And constitutionalists can come there. And if we don't start coming down on the Constitution and protect people's rights on all sides, we're in real trouble.
Amen to that. Well, you've been doing amazing work, and I love the new projects that you're coming out with. And I've always said for a really long time that culture is where the fight is. And you're I think you're like the only site out there that gets it and is really working on that front. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see about this conversation that you had with this other celebrity out there and what comes of that. I think you're going to be like Agenda 21, we came out with a fiction book, and I hope to have that a miniseries by the end of the year. We have to get into the culture and live in their space. We have to, without being preachy. I mean, right.
I don't want to preach to anybody about being a better person. I just want to live my life in a way that people will watch and go, I can be bigger than I am. I can be better than I am. I can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do, and be open and not judgmental, and and just rooted deeply in the Constitution. And if you believe in the Constitution like I do, I'm cool, man. You do whatever you want. I'll do whatever I want, because I know freedom is secure if the Constitution is at our center.
And it's that common ground that we can build on.
That's it.
Glenn Beck, always a pleasure, sir. TheBlaze.com, folks, and of course The Blaze on DirecTV, and then your Roku, your Boxee, however you want to watch it. Look forward to talking with you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Bye-bye.
Take care.